gentlemen, we have a guest with us today. The studio is one person more crowded than usual. We have our first ever Everything Club interview going on today. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, that's really,
this is also they do not give me any layups in this opening segment. I tell you,
this is great. I love it. That's well put.
Thank you.
George, I was really hoping you would just commit to the bit with me and just say nothing.
Just dead silence.
Just silence.
For movies, music, books, and more, join Keelan, Noah, and George, your ultimate entertainment hub. Welcome to the Everything Club.
Today we're thrilled to drive to.
Oh man!
4 words in,
and it's ruined. Can't edit that out, folks.
Crazy. Today, we're thrilled to dive into the world of illustration with a very special guest. This week's guest grew up in St. Louis, attended the Milwaukee School of Art and Design, and has a deep love for all things Disney, Harry Potter, and the classic game of hide and seek. I'll let her introduce herself, but first, let's introduce ourselves as the hosts. I'm George Mitroff, engineer, entrepreneur, and entertainment connoisseur, and as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts.
Keelan Luke Morrissey, writer, director, filmmaker, poet, photographer, lover of entertainment and arts.
I don't like that you guys list off all your things because I got nothing to my name.
That is so false. That is so false.
You guys just seem so much more sophisticated than me. Now, I am Noah Boink. I am an electrician, a sports fanatic, and all-around, video game entertainment style fan. But we also have.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. That is not a segue from my sentence. Yeah, that works.
and now we'd like to formally welcome our guest, Camille. We're excited to dive into your creative journey as an illustrator. But first, we'd like for Keelan to introduce you and maybe provide a bit of a background on who you are.
Don't you love when you're being interviewed and you just get just completely cut off by?
No, it's time to talk. I didn't know when I should speak. It's okay. It's nobody's fault. It's okay. This is how I
We're off to a crazy start here. We maybe should have sat down and discussed this format a little more before diving in.
This is perfect. I don't want any other interviews to go any other way.
This is just like Christmas gift exchange in a bunker.
Literally, that is the energy here. Yeah. All right, so Camille, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go ahead and let the listener know a little bit about you. Then we're gonna jump into what we call our light question round. Now, normally we toss some questions to each other pertaining to the week's subject, but this week all the questions will be aimed at you. Then we'll jump into the meat of our club sandwich, which is a main discussion about your work, free-flowing. You can go wherever you want it to go. And then finally, we're going to conclude with our last slice of bread, which is a deep question round. So without further ado, let me formally introduce you to the listener, Camille Curtis.
Oh, boy.
My
government name.
Full doxing her.
Government name.
That's wild.
Who lives at Redacted. Camille is an illustrator and animator, known for her expressive characters and tastefully vibrant colors. She spent the last 4 years refining her style at the Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design, where she graduated in May with a major in illustration and a minor in communication design. Her senior thesis and most recent milestone project was the adorable children's book From Morning to Moonlight, which told the wholesome tale of a young girl's daily routine. Prior to that, she produced an elegant poster for Penfield Children's Center Croquet Ball and has worked with clients such as Operation Shower, Barnes Jewish Hospital, the St. Louis Art Museum, Reginald Baylor Studio, and the infamously tough-to-please KM Productions. Camille's work encompasses a wide range of subjects from the personal to the political, and yet always carries a visually pleasant blend of boldness and whimsy. Camille Curtis, welcome to the Everything Club, and happy anniversary.
Oh my God, thank you. I had to put my glasses on so I'm not fully perceived. That was lovely. Thank you so much, everyone. I've got to stop doing this voice now. I'm sorry.
It's hard to find your podcast voice. I still haven't found it.
This is my first podcast, guys.
Whoa. Media debut, folks.
Yes.
Media debut.
Well, audio only debut.
Yeah.
There you go.
Audio only.
There you go.
I've had to show my face in his movies.
I meant media
did you
debut
forget?
as yourself,
As
like
just
not
me?
as a character.
Right,
yeah.
that is true. This is
Yeah.
true.
But no, Camille also, I should have mentioned, is an actress and has been
no.
cast in a number of projects,
Yeah.
often not by choice.
How are we all doing?
We're doing great on this evening, Noah. How about you?
We seem to skip that part every so often.
Oh yeah, I have a thing for that as well. All right.
We seem to skip the check-in almost every week.
As you can see, we have an amazing conversation in store for you, listener. But before we jump into the art world, how's everyone doing? What's everyone been up to last week?
Let's start. Camille, how are you doing? What have you been up to?
What have I been up to?
Yeah.
Oh, unemployment. This summer has been overall very nice. I'm no longer a student. I've been a student for longer than I can remember. And it feels great to not actually have to be back in the school environment currently. Like, I was just thinking, like, man, I would be back in my dorm, you know, hunkering down on homework and projects and trying to meet tight sketch deadlines and meetings with my instructors about critiques and all that crap, you know, and trying to be okay with being away from loved ones for a while and just dealing with Milwaukee in general. Not that I didn't love Milwaukee, but I am happy to be home. So, yeah.
Milwaukee sounds like dog shit.
I'm just dealing with Milwaukee. Just gotta put up with that.
I
fucking
love
city.
the Third Ward. I will say I have a lot of fond memories of the Third Ward where Mayad is located. But having to attend school in the Third Ward got old very quickly. So I'm just happy to be here at home for now.
Yeah, the third ward was cool. It's a listener, in case you're unfamiliar with the Milwaukee area. The third ward is kind of this central downtown area with lots of good shops, restaurants. It's a very artsy district, lots of murals, and Mayad, the school, is situated in the center of all that.
I think just being by the water in that capacity is really nice in Milwaukee. And people who aren't normally near that much water, like, you feel better almost sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, you just feel better about yourself. I don't know.
We have the murky Mississippi. What do you
That's
want?
the perfect way to put it.
What
The
more do you
murky
want?
Mississippi. That's the perfect way to put it.
I mean, yeah, the Mississippi fulfills all the heart's desires.
I know.
You can't stand on that just rubble-filled beach by the Gateway Arch and not just be inspired. You know what I mean?
No, look, man. Y'all just don't get it. Keelan, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yeah, as I said, it's our anniversary. I mean,
Yes, it is.
we already took our trip last weekend, but tonight we are going to the Idlewolf restaurant, which is at the 21C Hotel. It's this really cool artsy hotel / museum that is literally the next building over from here,
Yeah,
from
it's
where
right
we're
next
recording.
door.
Sick.
Yeah.
Which is right next door.
Yeah, I didn't even plan it like that, but it's literally right there. So we will just be moseying on over there after this and celebrating. So yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Neat.
Yeah, how about you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I in the last week I had to get all 4 tires replaced.
Oh my god.
Dang, separately?
Well, I have my inspection coming up,
What?
and they were not going to pass. But
What do you? Oh, did you really
I have
wear 'em
my
out?
I have my tag, my yearly stickers due at the end of next month, and my tires were not gonna pass. So I'm driving a lot safer now.
That is good.
Well, at least you got it out the way.
Yes.
Didn't you say last time we were driving around that there was like something you were in desperate need of an oil change?
Hey, I did that on my own.
Okay.
It's fine. I got it done.
Okay, just making sure.
I got it done. Don't worry. But yeah, other than that, life's been pretty good since last episode. Oh, it was 2 weeks ago. Last episode was 2 weeks ago. At the
Was
time of
it?
recording this. Yeah, we didn't do it last week, did we?
Right.
No,
right.
we did.
We did it.
George?
Yeah, we did.
When did we record last?
We did do last Monday.
did.
It was last Monday. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and in the last week I got my tires replaced, and I was just, having fun, doing fun stuff.
Nice. Love to hear it.
George, how you doing, bud? I caught him at a bad time.
Good.
Mid-yawn.
This week has been going very well. I had my first work trip, which was excellent, and I went to Indianapolis, which is interesting. the entire city is under construction, if you didn't know.
Yes.
Reminds me of Clayton.
So is
Reminds me of anywhere here.
so is the entire interstate. So that's
Yeah.
so that's fantastic. Listener, if you're going, please plan on having multiple trucks drive at the exact same speed on the 2 lanes of the interstate, and then match that speed for periods of about 50 to 75 miles, despite all common sense and just human decency and any kind of moral compass. This does happen several times.
What is going on here?
Throughout the time.
But no, he's being honest. I had
Yeah.
family that lived in Indiana, and they were always doing construction, and that exact thing happened
George is like,
all the time.
if you ever want to go to Indianapolis, you better be fucking brain dead while you're driving.
Listener, that's true. And Camille just confirmed it, which is perfect.
True, it's true. Like, they're never not doing something on the road
Peer
and on
review.
the highways. Yeah.
All right, we are now about 15 minutes into this episode, and we're just now getting to talk
Scratching
about
the surface.
Camille.
Talk about me.
Yeah, boys, let's lay down that first slice of bread. Anyone got a light question they want to throw out at our guest?
When are you getting married?
Whoa, loaded question. That's for Keelan to determine and decide.
I wouldn't say it's entirely
This was a
my
bit.
decision.
Like,
I would just like to say this was a bit. I didn't expect any answer from this.
no, I understand.
This was all a joke.
We have a projected launch date, release date for the wedding.
You got a hard launch for your
hard
wedding.
launch.
Well, okay. In truth, I think, I mean, not laying anything in concrete, but I think if we did our anniversary if we did our wedding in like September of 26, that would mark our 10-year anniversary of just dating, which would be kind of symbolic. So I think
He's not saying it, but he's saying it.
I think that
Right.
I think that time frame is kind of
Yeah.
yeah. And I've got some schemes. But no, let's what are we doing here? Let's ask Camille
Look,
something
I
more.
admitted that was a joke. You're the one that
Yeah, listen,
decided to actually
Noah had to
answer.
get all serious, and he was just mean mugging me like, you better fucking answer that question, bro. It was intense in here, listener.
Yeah, I
I'm
need
sorry.
to know when I'm losing you. Motherfucker.
George and Noah will both be best men, though. This is decided.
yeah.
This was decided in our film, The Best Man, released in 2020,
Yeah.
in which they both ended up
We will
being the best
we will
man.
both be reprising our roles during
Yes.
his wedding.
Indeed. George has vouched to wear the foot costume to the
Yes.
wedding.
Nope.
All right, Camille.
Yes.
So first thing I wanted to ask you was there's kind of been this trend going around at red carpets, Letterboxd, the film app. What they do is they ask their correspondents ask a lot of actors and directors, like, what are your 4 favorites? That's kind of been something going around. 4 favorite films, and it doesn't have to be all-time favorite films, so this isn't a high-stakes question, but just like right now in your continuum, stuff that you're inspired by, stuff that's catching your eye, or old-time favorites. What are your 4 favorites right now?
Well, The Lion King will always be number 1. That is a gold standard in my
I am
book.
shocked.
Everyone is absolutely
here.
shocked.
All right.
Jaws
Jaws
are
are on the floor.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
I honestly am rotating movies, if you will. Like, a long time ago, I'd have been like, oh my god, yeah, Lion King, The Hobbit, blah, blah, blah. And I still love The Hobbit. Like, that is still in my continuum. But, I've really been into Harry Potter lately. I will say these last 4 years have been just straight Harry Potter. That's Keelan's
Love it.
doing. I don't want to just say that all of the Harry Potter films are in that category, because that's like kind of not true. I really like Prisoner of Azkaban. I really like Goblet of Fire and Chamber of Secrets. And other than that, nothing else exists. So, no, I'm kidding. I'm joking. That's not true.
You didn't like Order of the Phoenix?
I don't like the thing that happens in Order of the Phoenix.
Okay.
She doesn't like Sirius dying.
Oh, I'm allowed to say that? Okay. I do not like
They've been
Sirius
out for
dying.
like.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying. Like,
I would
didn't
say
know.
the window for spoiler alert is passed on that
Okay,
one.
well, I do not like the death of Sirius Black, and I will stand by that. Gary Oldman, I am sorry. I am so sorry to you. So, personally. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just really vibing with Harry Potter right now.
Fair enough.
I love old movies. I love vintage movies. I really love black and white movies. I watch those with my mom. I love cheesy holiday movies because that, I like Home Alone. I don't know, that's not cheesy, but now I'm just rambling. So, okay.
No, you're good.
Okay.
So to summarize, your 4 favorites are The Lion King, the entirety of the Harry Potter universe, all of black and white films, and all of holiday films. You heard it here, listener.
Yup. I can never give you a concrete list. I'm sorry.
No, I guess it'll be Lion King and those 3 Harry Potter ones.
Yes, the 3.
Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah, I like it. I like all those.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, Camille, you got a favorite Halloween movie?
Ooh.
It's not the Halloween episode yet.
That's, I'm kind of cheesy, but I really do love Hotel Transylvania.
Yeah.
I watched that for the first time in a really sweet spot in life. Like, I went to the movies with my mom and my friend at the time. It was a good time, and I feel like that movie is consistently just very heartwarming. But I also love, Nightmare Before Christmas as a Disney person. And there are a few other Halloween films that I like, but I think those are just kind of the 2 that I talk about the most for Halloween movies.
How do you feel about Hocus Pocus?
I love Hocus Pocus.
Okay.
It's good, yeah.
Good.
I will never understand Hocus Pocus slander. Honestly, I don't think I've actually heard Hocus Pocus slander, so it probably doesn't even exist. But I do like it.
But when it does come up, you won't tolerate it.
I will not. I will not. I'm not normally a super big horror person, though. I like slasher films, but
right.
Keelan and I talk about this often. I do not enjoy demonic or paranormal movies because in my mind I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna happen to me.
Yes, yeah, I am wholeheartedly there with you.
Thank you. I'm not alone. Thank you. Keelan and Jordan just
we've had some extensive debates about this recently about because she was like, well, I don't want to see Alien Romulus because that couldn't happen, and I'm like, I think aliens are just as plausible as demons, and she's like,
I was like,
no. False.
No, I disagree. What? No way they're the same. Aliens are much more probable. What are you talking about?
That's what I was saying, but I won't open up this can of worms.
I'm so in the mindset that demonic stuff is always around the corner, so I have very little room to think about aliens.
Because
my brain power is always on demons.
Camille's family has a history of hauntings and stuff. Yes. Almost everyone in her family has
their
a story.
own thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's kind of it's crazy.
Her aunt lives. Tell them about where your aunt lives.
My aunt, my lovely aunt lives not that far away from where the actual Exorcist took place and where they got inspiration from the movie. So
wasn't that here in St. Louis?
Correct.
I feel like you just moved. What are we doing?
She moved in some years after, but that was the thing in the neighborhood. Everybody knew hey, that's the house,
Yeah, when the realtor is and here's where the Exorcist happened. That's where I start to pivot.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah.
All right, Boink, you got a question?
I'm gonna move my chair now. Okay. This is more going towards your art. What do you think is giving you the most inspiration over your time doing art?
I often if you talk to really any artist or character designers specifically, most times we will refer to the movies that we watched as children, So The Lion King for me is a really, really, really big inspiration. And really any Disney movie from 90s, early 2000s where that 2D hand-drawn animation was really, 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 really strong. And a lot of the characters were incredibly expressive with their emotions. I wanted to do that as a kid. I didn't fully know how, but I'm I want to do that. I want to make characters that are just as expressive and just as vibrant. And I want them to speak for themselves, even if they're not verbally saying words. And I mean, most of us can agree that most Disney characters are incredibly expressive anyway, without having to say much. Their
Absolutely
visual
not.
appearances.
I wholeheartedly disagree. I can't. I lost it. What's the word? I can't relate to a lion. What? I don't know what looks they have.
Well, you get the gist of what I'm saying.
They are very expressive lions, you must
Yes.
admit.
That- okay.
They've got Yeah.
Disney does a very good job.
And like they hire the best of the best because that at the time was like the main industry for producing children's films, you know? But that is my inspiration. Like I love making characters and I love studying and observing characters. So, yeah.
Neat. Yeah, and that expressiveness very much comes through in your style. I think, I see the echoes of like Disney, Pixar type, very expressive, like borderline cartoon-esque characters, while you still give it your own kind of spin. Like it doesn't feel like just Disney fan art.
Right,
It feels like it's your own style, but I can definitely see the inspiration there, which is cool. Hey, Camille.
Hello.
This is normally how we bounce the questions around, but now they're all just at you. I wanted to ask. I've never asked you this. So if you were to,
They have been dating for 8 years.
Yeah.
He's never asked me this.
I've never asked you this question. What movies do you like? No, I'm just kidding. So if you were to be kind of the chief animator on a film, 2D or 3D, however you want to envision it, and you had kind of a main character, whether it's an animal character, a human character, but you have one character that you really put your all into, who would you want to voice that character? If you
my word.
You had access to all the Hollywood agents, and you could kind of get in touch with any living actor / voice actor. Who would you want helming that project?
I'm not gonna lie. This is gonna sound incredibly conceited. It's gonna be me. Like I'm not even gonna lie. Like if I had the opportunity to be like the chief animator or the person in charge, that means like I have a small team of people who are like helping this character come to life, and I've got the cleanup crew and the coloring crew. Like everyone is like helping me out, so that would give me room to also do the voice. And hopefully this character has a lot of sass because I would be great at that. So it would be me. Period. That's it.
The studio's
end of podcast. It would be me.
The studio's like
podcast.
Yeah.
end of podcast. The studio's like, Camille, we have all the connections. Like we can get you Morgan Freeman. We can get you Liam Neeson. We can get, and you're like, I'm okay.
Right. No, I got
take
it.
this one.
I'll take it from here, guys.
No, that's fair. I know you've mentioned doing voice acting in the past. I've always thought you would be very good at that. Yeah, for sure.
Because like sometimes they pull people who don't have a very long list of voice acting history. They don't, they choose people that have never done it before, and they do an amazing job. Like I don't know. Some of the recent Disney movies, a lot of them have just done like just acting, not voice acting, but they've done really, really solid jobs, and they sing really well.
Right.
And I feel like I could toss my hat in the ring.
Listen, if Chris Pratt can be Garfield and Mario,
Come on,
anything's
right,
possible.
Right, exactly. I would do a good job. I would do a great job.
Camille, I know that you have like a lot of like original characters, which is really awesome. Is there a certain popular character, maybe outside of the Lion King that you really enjoy, drawing, that you like feel like drawn to?
Oh my goodness, there are so many. Like I show Keelan my Pinterest, Pinterest, like Pinterest is, I show him like a lot of like my different Pinterest boards, and it comes from, a lot of my pins are of different franchises that I like. I love Bob's Burgers. I love Garfield. I love What We Do in the Shadows. I love a lot of different things. I will say, like my Lion King folder, I'm not gonna lie, is not as hefty as like my DuckTales folder or my Harry Potter folder, because I just don't know why, but it's just not like that. And I do love a lot of the other Disney movies. I love a lot of their character designs, so it isn't always Lion King. My second favorite Disney movie is Peter Pan, and that has also given me a lot of inspiration because that came from like Disney's Silver Age era of animation, and a lot of their character designs are a lot like softer and a little more like, gentle. So I take inspiration from that as well. I kind of forgot the first part of the question, but I hope I answered it.
Is there one of those characters you most enjoy drawing, I think?
George, I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't often draw characters that I like. I have never really done that.
Why would you say that?
Ever since I was young, I was very insecure about my art anyway. And I'm like, there's no way that I'm going to screw up like Simba's face and like let myself live with that. So I just refused to draw Simba. And there is no way that I was going to mess up like Peter Pan. I'm like, nah, we're just not going to do it. So I have just not really drawn characters that I love and look up to. It has to be a character that I'm just like, I don't give a shit about.
Now that you've, like, I don't know, developed so much and graduated from an absolutely ridiculously awesome school and have built, like, this amazing portfolio, is that something that you would care to revisit ever, do you think? Or
I think it's very likely. I will say it is easier to draw people than it is animals. Quadrupeds are a whole different ball game when it comes to the accurate anatomy, so I might start off with human Disney characters or Bob's Burgers characters or whatever, but I don't know. I will say I'm not that huge into like the fan art of doing my own stuff yet. I need to get better. I do.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. You know, you took kind of that when you were younger and developing your style. You didn't want to do you didn't want your art to be a disservice to any of these characters that you held so dear. And meanwhile, I took an opposite approach and was like, I'm going to make 85 Batman movies, and they're all going to be kind of terrible, but that's okay. But no, I hear what you're saying. But you definitely have also done like when you do choose to do fan art, and you've done it for like Gifts for Me
for
and
Keelan,
that kind of thing. And I mean you do it very well. And you have there's one poster, listener, which you can find on her website. It's CamilleRaquel.com.
Yes.
Right.
RAQUEL.
And it's a piece that has us, and then it has all these different interests of ours in these different bubbles, and it has like What We Do in the Shadows and Harry Potter and Green Lantern and Lion King and Bob's Burgers and
Ninja Turtles.
And Ninja Turtles, yeah, and The Hobbit in Atlanta, and yeah, a bunch. And I think you did them all in very different styles and paid tribute to the characters very well. And I thought that was really cool. You know, you definitely have the capacity to do those characters justice.
I think it boils down to believing in myself, which you know,
About to get
moral
inspirational
of
up
the
in this
story:
shit.
believe in
There
yourself.
we have it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Camille, I have a question I know you're gonna love.
Oh, boy.
All right. Now we established earlier that you have been in some of Keelan's movies
Yes,
with
I
us.
have.
Which I noticed oddly weren't on your portfolio website. What's
I
up
had
with
to be-
that?
I'm sorry. Are you trying to hijack my question time?
Sorry,
You
I'm
guys
so
can
sorry.
sort this out tonight when
I'm
you
so-
go to the museum and dinner. All right. This is my time.
I'm so sorry. No.
What is the most embarrassing thing that you had to endure with Keelan out in public while filming?
Oh my God. Out in public, he knows exactly what that is. We were in Milwaukee
Oh no.
on the fucking beach.
Oh, does it have to do with the best man?
He was in
This was a follow-up to The Best Man.
the Yeti costume on a public beach. And he required me to dance with him while he was in the Yeti costume. And he brought the fake fish that the Yeti consumed for food. He like set up like this whole picnic thing on the uncomfortable rocks.
Yeah, it's a
that-
rock beach, by the
It's
way.
literally a rock beach. Like, people literally brought pillows to sit on, but we didn't have pillows. You know, there were these ladies collecting like rocks in the water, and they were like, "Oh my God, this dude's just in a fucking Yeti costume. This isn't happening." And I'm like, I'm so scared he's gonna get shot. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, with this off-white T-shirt underneath. It was incredibly insane, guys. And then it started to like sleet and snow, and then we had to stop filming and stand out in it and wait for it to finish so we could keep filming.
Why couldn't you go back to the car?
Because the car was too far.
The car was kind of far away. It's kind of on a yeah. It was on a hill. It's a whole thing.
I
Yeah.
swear, that was
That was-
probably the worst.
That was when I knew I picked a good one. That was when I never felt more confident in my relationship than that.
I had to go deep.
I also
That was
never
what,
felt.
2 years ago? So 6 years in, you're like, yeah, I picked a good one.
I also never felt more scared for the sanctity of my relationship
Yeah.
than that day. But
Oh man.
I was just visiting my grandparents, and we were watching The Stalker, which is a classic, by the way.
yeah.
All of us are in
Yeah.
that one, and I was reminded of the fact that not only did Camille let me throw a large basket of popcorn on her for the climax of that film, But that was actually the second revision of that scene.
Yes, when he threw wet corn.
In the original scene, I threw just a vat of wet corn onto her.
So bad.
And then my dad's friend John was like, "Oh, it'd be so funny if he erupted and was popcorn."
Thank you, John.
And I was like, "That's a good idea. Let's reshoot it."
And mind you, he had to reshoot a lot because of like some audio mishap. So I had to go back in all those outfits, man.
We reshot every single scene that was indoors. Camille, I do love you.
I know this. I do know this.
I do love you. This is.
Yeah.
I can't even.
Can't say I don't support
I can't even
your
put my
vision.
gratitude into words.
Say, you better not ever get mad at her. You're like, you don't support me.
No, I am a lucky man. I'm a lucky man. Let me hit you with one more light question. Actually, let's just jump into our main discussion. Where the clock is ticking here. Okay, let's start talking.
Wow.
I realize our main discussion.
Disconnect.
Our main discussion is just asking
It's
each
still
other
just
going to
be more questions, right?
Okay,
But
so
they're deeper questions. Like,
but we have the deeper question round.
Yeah.
well, that was supposed to be quicker. This
Stick
is
to the formula. Sorry.
The secret formula.
well,
Camille, how would you describe your art style?
There we go.
Oh, okay. That's a really good question because I've been like observing my style lately, and I do like to have a sense of realism to it. Like I don't want it to be just overtly cartoony. Some people really love the cartoon comic shtick, but I like to have a sense of realism, but I also, like I say, I like to exaggerate that realism and add as much attitude or emotion as I possibly can while sticking to like some realistic parameters, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now I do like to go outside the box sometimes just to be curious, but oftentimes if I'm like submitting a piece or giving a piece as a gift, it is going to be like on the more realistic, cartoony side. Yeah.
No, you have a super cool fusion of the realistic and the kind of cartoony animated style. Yeah, I think it's cool. I wanted to ask, how much of your art technique sort of comes from the digital tools that are now available, and that was something I wanted to get into, is kind of traditional versus digital art, because you used to. Back in high school, you would do tons of sketches and stuff on paper, and then you kind of, I don't want to say graduated, because I don't know if it's necessarily better or more professional. I think both have their merits, but sort of you went on to do a lot more digital art, which is what people will more so find in your catalog now. So, which do you prefer? Do you think that the digital has let you kind of develop new skills that you couldn't have had with just traditional? How do you feel about that?
That was a heavy conversation at my ad between the instructors and the students, because a lot of the instructors were kind of old school. They preferred traditional art more because you had to be very conscious of what lines you were drawing, how you were drawing it, what strokes you were making. There wasn't an easy undo button or a move tool. Like obviously you have your eraser or whatever, but you're more conscious of what you're doing, is what I'm saying. So for me, in high school, when I was really starting to get serious about my art, I definitely started off traditionally, because I knew that that's where I needed to start off, just pencil and paper. I really needed to like learn how to hold my utensil the right way and get comfortable with it and try different techniques, and learn like which pencils honestly helped me better than others, because like there's a whole just wide variety of drawing mediums out there, But once like Procreate became popular and I was able to get an iPad, I'm like, wow, this actually is like helping me a little more, because you can do layers and you can change the opacity if you're trying to like trace something and learn how certain things are. Like you can lower the opacity of that thing that you're trying to learn how to trace, go on top of it and make your own thing out of it, that kind of helped me. Or if you do like a traditional sketch and then you take a picture of it, you can upload that to Procreate and then make it into something digital, and that allows you to use Painterly tools and water, all sorts of different tools that you might not necessarily have like on hand in your studio, like it's a wider variety. So I honestly prefer digital because I can do just about anything with it, but traditional is really nice. It does make you feel more connected to the old school art, I guess, if you will, old school art styles, old school artists, whatever. But I'm digital all the way. I'm not even gonna lie. Digital all the way. I don't care.
Would you recommend that newer artists who are just now learning to draw, that they start with traditional before going to digital?
I would. And people can disagree who know art if they want, but like I think it is a really nice beginner's step to take by starting off with just pencil and paper, because in the end it will always be pencil and paper. Right. You know, because technology could take a dip, something could happen. You never know. And you're going to want to know how to use those traditional elements. So I feel like, yeah, that's very organic. So they should start off that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it almost feels weird to go the other way. Like if someone started just doing digital and then they're like, now let me learn how to actually draw on a piece of paper. Like I wonder what that transition would even be like.
Honestly, some people had that kind of journey at school.
Oh, really?
They were... I won't say that they were missing certain fundamentals, but it felt like they were very uncomfortable by transitioning from digital to just from digital to traditional. And like if you become a painter, like traditional is also like very big. Like you have to know how to draw in order to paint.
Sure.
Because they go hand in hand like crazy. I took a lot of painting classes and a lot of still life classes, and like you need to know how to draw. It can be very challenging and very frustrating if you don't have those fundamental techniques.
Yeah. Well, let's get into a little bit of MyAd, because I mean this was a huge chapter of your artistic life that just kind of concluded this year, and now that you're no longer an RA and no longer a paid representative of the school, you can kind of say what you want to say now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know where to start exactly, but just kind of when you think of your time at MyAd and you think of that community, you think of the classes you took and the skills you developed, like what comes to mind? What would you recommend MyAd to other artists? What were your favorite parts of it, least favorite parts of it? What was that experience for you?
I will say, like, for anyone wanting to go to art school, don't expect art school to be this magical place that, you know, where dreams come true. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, it can be beautiful yet grueling, you know? So that's like just like the honest hard truth, because you will realize that the career that you are choosing to devote your life to, like, it's very complex, and art is very complex, and a lot of people digest art differently. And so what you think you know is going to completely be torn down when you go to art school, and you're going to have to like rebuild those fundamentals and those steps along the way. But I would still 100,000% recommend art school for those who really genuinely want to do that, because I learned like so much, and it was so nice being in an artistic environment like on a consistent basis, because that's what I yearned for in high school. Like, I told Keelan all the time, I'm like, man, I wish I could just be in the art room like all day. And like I tried my hardest to have free periods where I could just stay in the art room and all that stuff. So it was really good for me. But yeah, I just would say you really have to humble yourself and prepare to be humbled. And also, yeah, I don't know. I that's all I can say. Yeah.
No, that's a terrific answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I just wanted to know a little bit more about like your journey a little bit earlier on.
Oh. Okay.
So like, what do you think inspired you to pursue like a career in like art and illustration?
I have always been an illustrator. Like, even when I was just making funky little drawings at home, you know, like I would always like steal my grandmother's like lined notebooks where she would like do prayer stuff or grocery lists, and I would like take her notebooks and go somewhere around the house and like just draw the whole time that I was there. I would find scraps of paper to draw on, all that stuff. I would draw thousands of pictures for my parents, you know. Yeah, I've been drawing for a very long time, but I did not think that being an artist or being an illustrator was even like a career choice. That was never presented to me. So in 9th grade, Gwyneth Scallions actually really got me started.
Shout out Nails by Gwenny.
Yeah, literally, honestly, yeah. Gwyneth Scallions, she, like, seeing the level that she was at, I'm like, I want to be there because, like, sis could, like, she was drawing the eyes. Everyone wanted to draw the eyes as well. The realistic eyeballs with the great eyelashes. I'm like, girl. So ninth grade was the start of my, like, being serious about art. But it took me a long time to even get, obviously, here today. It was very rocky. Like, my style had not evolved yet. I was figuring out the basics, you know. Even by senior year of high school, like, art was still very rough, in my opinion. So I will say I'm happy where I'm at now, but it did kind of start later in life for me with being serious about art, if that makes sense. Because a lot of people knew. A lot of people were like, oh, I knew I wanted to be an animator for X amount of years. I'm like, well, I didn't. Like, I thought I was going to be a vet or something, you know? Like, I don't know. So, yeah.
Sweet. So we've covered, like, you know, during your time at Milwaukee and, well, now before. So, like, now that you've graduated and, like, you're done with it, where do you plan on pursuing an artistic career? And, like, what do you think that looks like for you?
I would love to be doing something in the realm of what I was doing in college. I really enjoyed having art homework, even though I was like, I'm going to kill myself. You don't have to keep that in there, but I'm just very dramatic. But even though it was a lot of work, I still enjoyed drawing for homework, you know? I still enjoyed going through the process of, I'm going to go talk to my instructors who actually know what they're doing. Like, teaching is just a side job. Like, they actually have their own art companies and stuff like that. Like, I love that. I want to do that still, you know? My minor is communication design, which is technically graphic design, or the umbrella of graphic design. So a lot of companies are looking for more graphic design artists than they are illustrators. So that is honestly more of a realistic path that I'm trying to go down.
Gotcha.
But in the future, I would love to maybe be a character designer for some company, or just a freelancer. You know, once I start making, like, consistent money, I can, like, lend my talents to Etsy or whatever other freelancing websites they have out there. Or Disney could just hire me, you know. They could, or, you know, Pixar or somebody, Warner Brothers, looking at you. So,
You know, word has it that Bob Iger and his people are regular listeners of the Everything Club, so throw your hat in the ring, you know.
Totally.
This is how you'll get discovered, I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to touch on you mentioned the idea of, you know, doing art for homework, and how that in a way that is kind of like the dream. That's what you always wanted to do, but also that was a
Yes.
grueling thing, and those projects were
They were
extensive
intense,
and difficult, and I think people often kind of have an illusion that art is sort of just like this sort of fun thing, or this sort of you know, easier, simple job that isn't as complex or as even as important as other things. And I think something that you and I have talked about a lot that I'd love to hear you expand upon is that not only is art hard to get into and hard to truly refine your talent to the point where it's something that people will pay you for, but also art is integral to so much more than what your everyday person thinks. You know, art isn't just a picture you drew. Art is everything from the design of the symbols on the, you know, the signs in this room, the design of the interface on the computers we're using to record, the design of the clothes we're wearing. Like, art is literally, like, everywhere. And I think that is what people, especially when it comes to when you get into design, not just illustration, but design, I mean, that is so essential to our everything that we see visually in society. So
I was just having, like, when you were saying all that, like, I'm having flashbacks to being in class with all of my instructors, like, giving these massive presentations at the start of certain projects. Like, if we were designing, and, like, this sounds so simple, but, like, poster design as an illustrator is so huge, because that is what people and companies are looking for. You'd never think that a concert poster took 20 different revisions before it was put out there. You'd never think a grocery store poster took 20 different revisions before it was put out there, but, like, that's what art is. Like, it's not always something that's super flashy, and that's what we kind of had to accept as students, that it's not always going to be Disney, Pixar, blah, 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 blah. It is going to be more realistic companies that we may not even know the names of, you know, but they need our talents for getting their products, you know, seen, or making their websites more functional and stuff like that. Like, it is a lot of work to make things easily digestible, if that makes sense.
It's hard work to make it look easy. You know?
I think I fucked that up. Yeah. Did I?
No, what you said made sense. But I'm just saying
it's hard to make it look easy. It's hard to make it even simple. Like, that's the thing. Less is more sometimes, but as artists, we want to add all these little illustrative details, and they don't want that. They want something that's to the point, you know? And if you're dealing with clients that have conflicting views than what you have, that's hard to like manage. We had to learn all of that. We had to learn how to communicate with people who don't know how to communicate to artists, you know? We had to learn, you know, if you're working for like a magazine company, like, do your values align with theirs, and are you going to be okay illustrating what they want you to illustrate even if the paycheck is good, you know? And I think that's just like an ethics thing across any, you know, job. But I don't know, like, it's really hard to tell family members and people who don't really know about art, like, it's hard to tell them that like what we do is like so important to everything that we do on a daily basis, you know? They don't, like you say, they don't think about the computers and stuff. They don't think about the clothes. They don't think about shit on their phones, you know? They don't think about the stuff that their kids are watching or the books that their kids read. They just kind of throw it away, and they're like, yeah, that didn't take that long to make. It was a simple kid's book. No, it took a long time. Format layouts and all that stuff take a lot of time and a lot of learning and a lot of tears. And it's just, you know, it takes a lot. And I'm not always the best at explaining how hard it is because I have so many things in my head, and then I'm not speaking it fast enough. But like, I hope I can get across that like artists genuinely make this world what it is. And I feel like they deserve a lot more respect than they get.
Yeah, I can. Did you have something, Vernon, you wanted to say?
Well, I was just going to briefly say that, you know, C.S. Lewis once said that art, like friendship and philosophy, has no survival value. It is simply one of those things that gives value to survival.
There you go.
You go ahead, Mo.
Okay. Yeah. No. Good quote. Good quote. I love C.S. Lewis. I love all the Narnia books. But one thing I wanted to touch on that I like related to with what you said was that, you know, it's not always going to be like the big flashy companies like, you know, like Disney or Warner Bros. or whatever. And that's something that I faced as well when I doing like job fairs at Rankin when I was still in school. Because like there was like, whenever I would go up to booths, there'd be like Drury Inn. I'm like, like, have you ever thought about going into the hotel business? I'm like, no, not even once. Like,
no, I get it. Like it's
a lot of careers like that are romanticized to only think about, you know, Disney or like the big well-known places like giant manufacturers for like my end or you know, like with like it's just said Disney. You know, a lot of it is not what you think.
Exactly.
And it's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, especially when it comes to finally getting ready to go through with that career.
Exactly. And I think that's what a lot of freshmen struggle with because they tell you flat out, you're not going to be going to work. Like, you're not going to graduate and go work for Disney. Like, 1% of our students goes and works for Disney. Like, that's just not something that we are going to promise you. We're going to prepare you for more realistic positions that you will be okay with. You will be happy with them.
Yeah, they will put food on the table.
They will put food on the table and make sure your fucking lights are on. But, you know, like, there's one girl, for example, she said that she wanted to do all these crazy things. She was super happy with her major. Like, she was a client that we talked to, and she was like telling us all about her story. She works for Target. Like, she designs...
I was going to ask you to talk about her. Yeah.
She designs the Halloween and holiday stuff.
You need to put me in contact with her.
So, yeah, she designs
Maybe
stuff
some discounts could be arranged.
Yeah, did she design Lewis, perchance?
Oh, my God.
I love Lewis.
Yes, and, like, she basically told us, like, the journey that she went on to get to even Target, you know?
Right.
Like, she's like, you don't think about Target often as someone who needs a designer or an artist.
Yeah.
But we do. They do. So, I don't know.
Someone had to come up with Bullseye.
Spot the dog.
I thought it was Bullseye.
No, it's Spot the dog.
Why is it not Bullseye? That is such a missed opportunity.
I
Their name
love
is
Spot
Target.
the dog. Spot the dog's one of my all-time favorite commercial mascots.
I gotta Google this just to make sure.
I'm telling you, it's Spot the dog.
Target's official mascot dog is named Bullseye.
You are wrong.
Keelan, you have misled me.
I'm so sorry. I've been misinforming people for years.
This is what Wikipedia
I'm
says.
so
Was
sorry.
the target?
Bullseye, formerly known as Spot, is a miniature bull terrier and currently the official mascot of Target Corporation.
Formerly
so
known
we're
as
both
Spot.
right.
We're both right. Okay.
All right. Now that is settled,
But I was
George
right. I was
has
right
some
first.
questions.
Okay. No, sorry. Camille. George, go on.
Yes.
I apologize.
Well, I just wanted to know when you were talking a lot about like the amount of time and effort and everything that goes into all these illustrations. What do you think about these new tools that have been developing? A lot, like the Firefly engine, like the generative AI feature out of Adobe, is honestly a little bit scary.
It is,
on
yeah.
how much it can do in just
little
about
time,
5 seconds of like
Yeah.
computation. So I wanted to know a little bit about like your not only your thoughts about like your first impressions on like the tools that this are being developed, but how do you think that's going to shape? I mean, because you've had formal training and more informal training, I wanted to know about how you think that's going to shape people and the industry moving forward.
You know, if I were not an artist, conceptually, it is really cool. Like, it is cool that you can type a few phrases or like a, detailed whatever into like a search engine, and then it can come up with like this whole beautifully designed whatever for you. Like, conceptually, that's pretty cool. Like, okay, we haven't had something like that before, But as an artist, and like you say, having gone to school, I've dealt with professionals in the industry and everything, like, it is a bit scary. It is a bit, like, perplexing. Like, well, are we going to have the jobs that we once had? Do I even have a chance in the future, But one of my instructors made a good point. She was like, I was teaching before they made any of the Adobe stuff. Like, before Adobe was even thought of. She's like, I was teaching. And she's like, I was teaching when they introduced Adobe. I was teaching when they introduced Photoshop and Illustrator and all of that stuff. And she was like, yeah, it was really scary. We didn't know what we were going to do. She was like, I was even here when they introduced just the internet in general, But we evolve as a craft, and obviously certain rules and certain, limitations are made around it. So she told us to not be so overly scared that we just stop doing what we love, but to, also kind of be cautious with the things that it can become, and if, it gets out of hand. So personally, like I said, I think conceptually, AI, yeah, it looks cool, looks great, looks awesome, but I think it's okay for people to not put so much stock or investment in AI either before it, becomes something that's just like overtly out of control, because we're eventually just gonna be like, hey, let's like go back to more traditional or digital art produced by the human hand versus a computer generated response. Like, people are gonna get enough of that, I feel like, after a certain point. So that's really my 2 cents on it.
I think that has a lot of basis in like what we're seeing right now. I think the greatest example of something like this would probably be like anything that like advertises as like homemade, or something that says like this was hand stitched, or anything like that.
Yep.
A lot of the bigger like luxury products that you see nowadays, they advertise heavily that they were created by like a person who has developed like skills and capabilities, and it adds a more personal touch. Speaking as someone without an artistic bone in their body, I have used a lot of these tools in the past because I have not had great access to
and I can
artistic
understand
talent.
that too. Yeah,
George is not an ally.
That's
He
ridiculous.
is not an artistic ally.
That's ridiculous.
But like, that's the thing. That's like the nuance to it, because for people who aren't artists by nature or practice, like, AI does help you out, So that's valid in my opinion. Like, and a lot of artists still have complex views on that. A lot of my instructors, my younger instructors even, were like, no AI, like, this is none of that, and regardless. And it's like, I don't know, honestly. I don't want AI to take jobs, but also sometimes you need something quick, and you need something to be, fleshed out before you can make an idea about something, or you can write about something or get inspiration from something. So like, I understand, I do. So yeah.
I think it's really interesting right now because there's so much room for development that all the companies are kind of going in every direction. Yeah. I think that, right now, having used these tools, it's very irritating whenever I have a vision of something in mind and I try to communicate it with that, like to the model, and then I like have like a follow-up, and it just doesn't it like goes in an entirely different direction. At that moment I can see the exact clear difference between like the model and a person. Because if I like have a direction that I can take, I can communicate that to a person who can more clearly, with experience, kind of develop that. There's a lot of development going on right now into capability, and not necessarily like the feedback aspect of like, okay, so I've made something now, and I'm like, can you tweak it this way? And it's like, absolutely, and it just makes it a dragon. And you're just like, and you're just like, well, that's
not
cool.
what I asked for. Right, exactly.
That's cool, but my drawing of this poster just became incredibly different.
Correct, literally. Yeah, no, I understand. Like, sometimes talking to a person makes all the difference in the world, you know, regardless of what it is. So I completely understand. And yeah, AI is a challenging little monster. It really is.
Challenging little monster.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing in the field right now. And I just wanted to say when I've dabbled in doing some of the generative AI and making characters, and when it first launched, I was so excited about it, and I made like dozens of these characters, and I thought it's something that would be more sustainable, that I would continue doing long term, because I just found it so cool. Like you put in a phrase and it makes art, you know. But at a certain point, I felt a certain emptiness and unfulfillment with it, where I just felt I wasn't putting in the energy that should be necessary to produce something you're proud of. I felt like I took the loop around, and I think it, you know, as you said, I think it depends on the uses. There's not a one size fits all. You can use AI for this, but not for this, and I think it depends. But yeah, that's really interesting. And while we're on the topic of the art industry, I wanted to ask you, and maybe from here, I know we're getting close to our time. We can kind of start to segue into our heavy question round, but I wanted to ask you with the field of animation, 2D animation is kind of a lost art in a sense. Would you say it's less prevalent in mainstream films right now? So where do you think the role of the 2D animator falls in present day entertainment?
You know, I feel somewhat qualified to answer that question and somewhat unqualified, because I am not fully in the industry like I would like to be, and I feel like there are still some secrets that I'm not fully aware of yet. But I can say, like, you know, I've absolutely 1,000% have observed 3D animation is dominating just animation in general. Like, that is, every movie that we get that is animated is 3D animated. It is overly saturated in many regards, and I know that was the goal after Pixar made Toy Story. Like, they wanted computer-generated movies because that's what they could do. I truly wish that 2D movies were a thing still. 2D animators absolutely still can be a part of the animation team when it comes to, you know, animating movies, but they don't have the final say. They are doing the storyboarding, character design, and all that stuff. But they are no longer a part of the final piece, if that makes sense. Now, there are plenty of 2D animated TV shows. That's pretty much what you see. 2D animated TV shows. Cartoon Network, rest in peace, has plenty of...
Don't
say that.
Plenty of 2D animated shows. Nickelodeon has plenty of 2D animated shows. Obviously, Disney still has a large 2D animated. He was pouring one out for Cartoon Network.
Man, I can't believe Uncle Grandpa did not save Cartoon Network.
Oh, my God. You know.
George is reaching for the light right now.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. But
Uncle Grandpa was wild.
it was really wild. We're not going to talk about Uncle Grandpa.
I think I saw 30 seconds of that show. It's like, I don't ever need to see that again. I think I'm good.
I informed my mother and my grandmother over the weekend that Annoying Orange was a show that existed. They had never heard of this. And they were baffled that there was a show. it was just an orange
Wait till they hear about Fred.
with a dude's
Oh,
Snapchat
Fred.
filter.
Oh my God, I haven't thought about him in such a long time. But that's pretty much it. Like, I think there was such a beautiful language that 2D animation was.
Yeah.
Especially, let's say, Princess and the Frog for Disney was, I believe, their last hand-drawn animated movie.
Wow.
Wow, and what year was
And
that?
that was 2009. It was the first Black Disney princess. But, that was their last major 2D animated film, because after that, there was Frozen, Tangled, Brave, all CGI animated princess movies.
Still good movies. Though.
Still great movies. Still
Yeah.
great movies.
Yeah.
Still great storylines, great voice actors, great visuals, and that's what people wanted to see. They were used to the 2D animated shtick at that point. But I think that a lot of viewers miss 2D animation in general. I think it would be nice to see what they can do with that now.
Yeah. We actually did talk about this, like, Camille, you, me, and Keelan, as we were walking in here, about, like, the visuals are taking over the industry rather than, like, some of the
Yes.
story. Like, I know,
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
with Disney, you know, like, all the movies that you just mentioned, they all got great stories, but with the 3D, or with how much 3D animation and computer-generated movies have developed, they're focusing way more, or at least it feels to me, and you guys seem to agree, that
Yeah.
it's focusing way more on the visuals rather than any other part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I have started to feel that fatigue of that, like, sure, the visuals can be good, but, like, they don't need to be fantastic, and that's not going to save the movie anymore.
Exactly. And that's what they're doing with a lot of superhero movies
Yes.
and all that stuff. And it's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
And Keelan can talk for hours and maybe days and possibly years about that. But it's true. It's like it's hopping from franchise to franchise, that they just are putting more stock in the explosions and the colors and the look what Elsa can do, versus like the stock in the story and like the time it takes for people to learn how to flip the paper and do the little animation and flip it back. Like that takes a while, and a lot of people just don't want to do that anymore. They're tired, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
It's just a part of a convenience as well. So, yeah.
I want to ask you this while we're on the subject of kind of the oversaturation of 3D animated films. What do you think is stopping studios from taking the 3D style and creating stories that are really divergent in that medium? Because I feel like 95% of the CGI animated films that are released now from Disney and from other companies are generally under the talking animal umbrella.
Yes.
Which seems like, if you told that to someone who just was totally unfamiliar with our entertainment landscape, they'd be like, talking animals? Why is that why is that your number one thing?
Right.
When you could use CG, you could use that 3D animation to tell a space opera. You could do a really cool horror film and achieve things that couldn't be done in live action necessarily with you could go into all kinds. You could do a mystery. You could do all kinds of genres in 3D animation. Why do you think the studios haven't taken that jump, at least for mainstream stuff, yet?
One, they know what makes them money. Like, it is absolutely a money game. They know the formula, and they're sticking to the formula because they don't want to mess with that cash flow. Two, a lot of people are not interested in anything different. You can look at, like, Star Wars fans, and they're just, like, traditionalists until the end.
Mm-hmm.
Same with just Disney as the broad umbrella. A lot of people don't want change. So they are happy for the most part and complacent with the stories that they're getting. They might get a little miffed, but they're not going to make too much of a deal about it because they don't even think their voices can do anything anyway. So Disney has let people know who they are, what they can do, and what they're able to do, and what they're willing to give. So I don't think they're going to be the ones that goes out of their way to do something wildly different with their animation team. Like, they've got movies lined up for years now. Moana this and Zootopia that, like they have those already lined up. Warner Brothers, I personally feel like they could make something really cool, CGI horror. That would be awesome. I feel like they could do it, but they just won't because they know what makes the money and they're just happy with being comfortable. So
Yeah.
I could be wrong entirely, but that's just what I think.
That makes sense. And I imagine there's a lot of resources and money that have to be pooled into that. And it's a business at the end of the day.
Exactly.
They have to do something that's reliable, and doing something like horror or something that would be a little more niche or have a little more mature audiences in that medium wouldn't get them that kind of guaranteed family audience income.
Yeah.
But yeah, you boys got any other deep questions for Camille?
I was just going to say that I think that entertainment's a really unique industry in that, like, you can have a big studio that sinks millions and millions and millions of dollars into a movie, have it absolutely flop, and then turn around and be like, well, that's just the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that can happen. So I wish that that particular like risk level was applied
I agree.
to the high end of the creative spectrum and not necessarily just to the low end.
Right.
In terms of like original storyline.
I'm gonna be honest, like I am kind of, and this is someone who normally loves the animal sidekick like trope. I am definitely tired of seeing like the main princess character having like 2 talking animals by her side.
You don't like Hey Hey?
I'm literally thinking of Moana right now. Like I'm kind of tired of seeing like, you know, a fucking talking snowman, fucking Olaf. Like I'm sorry to the people that like Frozen. I genuinely apologize. Like I just can't do it anymore.
No. State your truth. Come on.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Air it out.
It's hard. I think that is just very overplayed. We understand that princesses can have the super cutesy relationship with the animals because they're just drastically misunderstood. We know. We know. We all have been there. We all have tried. But it's enough. Like, I really vibed with Merida because she wasn't like that. She literally talked to her horse who couldn't talk back. He couldn't talk back. But she aired out her woes, said, I don't want a man. I'm not trying to do this. I just want to ride off into the sunset flinging my bow and arrows. I love that. And she was Scottish. That's cool. So, you know, and there wasn't a bunch, and I love Disney musicals, but there wasn't a bunch of singing. The color palette was very different compared to most of the Disney movies. It was colder because lots of greens, lots of blues, you know. It was Scotland, you know. It is. It's I just love Merida. I want to give my props to Merida. Christina, you're sick. You're sick for not liking Merida.
Oh my God.
My friend in Milwaukee. She does not like Merida.
That's great. Why are you still friends with her?
and moving on.
Yeah.
So another question that I definitely wanted to ask before we ran out of time is
we got like 8 minutes.
We can go till 35.
A lot of people don't know about like the structure of creative projects, like what you were mentioning before about like how different like roles and different functions kind of all work together to make something. And I think that that's a real part of the industry, an incredibly important part of the industry that I don't know if anybody who hasn't had like extensive training in it can actually understand.
No.
So I wanted to ask, if you had to build like a studio from scratch, how would you like set it up differently in order to really kind of prioritize all of those like values that like from an artist's perspective that you have instead of from like a big studio's perspective?
Honestly, I would put, if I were like producing or like the Walt Disney of the company, if you will, like if I were the one calling the shots, having the team of people come in and do their work, like I would be making a statement at the beginning of like every film or every production that I put out, like a group of like hardworking individuals from many different walks of life have put all of their talents together to complete this piece for you. Not one singular person did it. You know, I might like have like a little like, here's a little bonus feature of like, you know, the people that did the coloring or the cleanup or the lighting. Here's how you can learn that. Because you know how DVDs used to have like special features and stuff on them? Like I would do something like that, you know? Or I would just want to definitely shed light. I would want it to be my voice telling them like, or telling the audience, the world, whatever, like these people have put their blood, sweat, and tears into this craft and they are here to help make this vision come alive. You know, there are multiple people working on this one character, and here's how they're doing it. Here's how they're communicating with each other on how to, you know, make that character as awesome as they can be. Like, I want people to know that because I didn't know that until very later in life. My parents are still learning that stuff. They're like, oh my God, so you're saying that, like, the person who animated Simba didn't also animate the background or something. Like, no, there are environmentalist artists or environment artists or whatever. Then they have the painting crew. Then it's so much. So I just feel like these companies need to verbalize that more versus just sticking their names on the credits and moving on. So I would just do that instead.
Right. I mean, you see those credits roll, and
Exactly.
you're sitting there.
It's just
You're sitting
And
there
you're like,
for
what
10
even
minutes
is that?
of-
You know, like most
Yeah.
times you're like, and especially with the detailed graphics now, like they're making up these different positions. Like, I want to know what that is. And I think kids deserve to know what that is so they know
Right.
that they have options.
Right.
You know, like, yeah, you can go on to do that. Like, you can be a character rig animation artist or something like that. I don't know. It's people need to communicate that stuff more, I feel like.
yeah. There's just a thought that popped into my head as you were talking about all that. It feels like kids' movies or like animated movies have gotten less fun
Yeah.
as time goes on. Like, we used to have animated bloopers,
Yeah.
you know, like where
Yeah.
they were. I don't know if they were like on purpose to specifically put at the end, or they were actual bloopers that they decided to animate.
They did.
I'm specifically thinking of like Toy
Toy
Story.
Story.
Yes, like
Yes.
like that used to be a thing.
It was.
You know, and at the end of Shrek, they had America's Got Talent or
They
whatever.
did, they
like
did.
that doesn't happen anymore, and it
No.
makes me so sad.
They did that for Lion King too. I know I keep bringing it back to Lion King, but like they did that for a lot of the older films.
I didn't know they did that for Lion King.
Yeah, they had fun with it. Like you say, it was still a business. They were still concerned about making
But
money.
they were happy.
But they were happy. And fun fact about Lion King, that was considered the B-list film. Like people
What?
who either did not like live up to like the big wigs vision or whatever, they would get put on Lion King. Like that was the B movie. But yeah.
I read about that.
You read about
I
that.
thought that the how the prioritization
Yes.
was so clear in terms of like the films that were on the docket,
Yeah.
and how entirely like I know that like that film proved a lot of people wrong.
Yes, it
And
did.
it was very interesting to read.
Because they really wanted everyone to know like we are still like valid. Our art is still valid.
Yeah.
But the main movie that they were they were like, this is gonna make us money was Pocahontas. Like
Oh,
that's the
yeah.
one that they were like, this is gonna be the showstopper, and it was not.
It was not.
What didn't something similar happen with Shrek? Wasn't that kind of a thing where people
That
got
was
Yeah, like they
also
got
demoted
yeah,
to
they got
work
you
on
got,
Shrek?
you got Shrek, and Shrek is now on its 5th movie,
Yeah.
and Puss in Boots has like 16 movies. Like, Shrek is a major franchise.
What was that movie that they got booted off of to go work on Shrek? I feel like there was
I
another
don't.
movie.
It was another DreamWorks movie.
yeah.
I forget
Was it
which.
Ice? No, Ice
No,
Age is
that's
Blue Sky.
I don't know if it was.
It wasn't Ants, was it?
No,
I feel like it might have been Ants.
I don't know. Cause DreamWorks started off with 2D animation, and then they moved on to CGI. So they also kind of had a Disney flip flop, because
Yeah.
I think Prince of Egypt was.
You're right.
Yeah.
It was Prince of Egypt. Yep.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you what happens in that movie. If I'm being really
Yeah.
honest.
It's a very emotionally mature. Like, you have to be mature to watch that movie. Like, I was a kid watching that movie. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Like, you have. It's very. It's one of those animated movies that has a deep message that isn't all about the hee hee ha ha singing songs. No. It has a real message, and it's part of a biblical story. So yeah,
You're talking about Shrek, of course, right?
of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Just making
yes.
sure.
Absolutely.
Shrek is my favorite biblical character.
Absolutely.
No, it just
I'm going all the way back to like 2015 with all these Shrek memes. I love it. Hashtag Shrek.
I feel like I've yapped so much and I've said nothing of substance. I
no.
don't know.
You've said a lot of substance, and Noah just hit me with a check yourself before you Shrek yourself.
Oh my gosh.
I'm having too much fun with this.
I wanted to hit you with one more, Camille. This one is so the theologist Frederick Buechner once said that you are called.
You can't become this person.
You are
Oh,
called
man.
where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet.
Oh.
And so I wanted to ask, do you observe or do you attempt to facilitate a balance between your own artistic fulfillment and joy and the broader social significance of your art? And do you source motivation more from one than the other?
Can you give me a smidge more insight to that?
Are you more driven to make art because of your own just joy and love of making it, or because of the significance socially that your art will have in the world, or is it some combination of both?
It's definitely a combination. I absolutely love making art that will speak to the masses. Noah's like in tears over here.
Sorry, I still got Shrek memes going on me.
Oh my gosh. It's okay, because if I was reading them, I'd be laughing too.
I'm sorry.
No, I definitely, like I said, I love making art that the masses will see, that will be like, oh my gosh, that's like really impactful, whether it's like race, gender, whatever. Like it's I like that. But I also never want to get so caught up in that I don't forget to have fun with my art, that I neglect making characters or getting more comfortable with drawing characters that I like, or trying my hand at like, really obscure art styles just because I want to, like that is incredibly important. And I lost that in school. Like I was so wrapped up in, this is a project for a fake company that my instructor gave me, and it needs to be perfect, like I'm not gonna do anything else until this project is what it needs to be. So I neglected a lot of the fun art until my thesis project, because I just didn't make time for it. I was tired, all that stuff. So I definitely want to do that more now that I'm out of school. I want to have fun with my art. I want to make crazy character mashups like my Voldemort and Ernie that I did for our anniversary.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna show you guys that one.
Yeah.
Did you not send it in the?
Oh, I think maybe I did. Because our costumes this year are gonna be everyone's favorite couple's costume: Lord Voldemort and Ernie from Sesame Street.
Ernie from Sesame Street. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really good, by the way.
Thank
That's
you.
really, really good.
I want to do stuff like that. Like, I see so many artists having a good time just drawing weird alternate universe work and blah, blah, blah. I want to do that. I want to do that. And I don't really want to feel like I'm putting myself in the box, because that's what it's being expected of me. So, yeah. Because a lot of people are going to be like, well, you need to do this because it's speaking to whatever's going on in the world. It's like, well, that's true. I'm also my own person. And the art is meant to fulfill me as well. It's meant to make people laugh. It's meant to make people in my circle have enjoyment, And yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it might be getting to that time where we have to wrap it up.
We need to redo this.
Absolutely.
We gotta come back and redo this. I feel like I have a lot more things to say.
I mean, just this was a fantastic discussion. Thank
I'm
you.
so glad.
Thank you very much, Camille, for sharing your experience and insight with us today.
George is like, let's wrap it up.
Well, we are getting the notification. I think
This is true.
Yep. No, this was delightful, Camille, and I for one would love to have you back on the show. And I mean, yeah, we there's some topics I have here on my notes that we didn't even scratch the surface of. I'd love to talk more in depth about your book, about particular projects you've done. I think we could really do a deep dive into that beach scene we filmed where I was the Yeti. I think we could really unpack that some more.
I really feel like we need to unpack y'all's filming experiences.
But yeah, this was fantastic, and Camille, thank you very much for coming on this crazy show of ours. It was a good time.
Yeah. I'm gonna take my glasses off.
And now you're being perceived.
You are being perceived in your full light.
Full light. All right. All right.
Well, thank you, listener, for tuning into this week's episode of The Everything Club. We'll catch you next time, and don't hesitate to take a big bite out of life this week.
Oh, nice. Oh, okay.
And be sure to check out CamilleRaquel.com to see Camille's portfolio. You can look up From Morning to Moonlight and Camille Curtis's portfolio book on Amazon.com. Go ahead and order that. Support a young. I was going to throw in another adjective there. Support a cool artist.
Okay.
And
Talented.
Well, because I wanted to say, like, support a local artist, but I'm like, the people listening, this won't be local for them necessarily, so.
You're just like, bro, come on.
Yeah, this has been a great time. Thank you all.
It's been wonderful.
Thank you for coming on, Camille. I had a great time.
I will be back next week. No, I'm
Oh,
kidding.
boy. All right.
Next week it is. All right, peace out, listener.
Thank you.
Blah, 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 blah.
I'm thirsty.